Hey guys, J-Man here. We're back once again for our 80s fantasy versus. It's been a couple of weeks, and I'm getting excited to talk about our two movies today, which is Conquest and Deathstalker. Um, we got a good panel tonight as well to talk about all these, but I did post a poll, the official J-Man poll here for Conquest and Deathstalker. So let me know which one you guys are voting to win. We're going to recap everything in the rules once I bring everybody in. So let's just get right into it. I'll bring in my first panelist.
Hello.
Hey, all right, are you ready?
Are you ready?
I know. I'm finally trying to get back into UFC again because we used to stream every Saturday night. So last Saturday I forgot that I'm like, I don't stream Saturdays. Like I tuned in for like the last two matches on the card. So I was like, crap. But then I was like, okay, this weekend I'm all set to go. And then there's no UFC this weekend. Of course. But that's okay because there's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So Steve and I are going to be doing our WrestleMania recap on Tuesday. And then we'll try to revert back to Wednesdays for that. So, all right, let's bring on our next panelist. Hey, Sean.
Look who shows up at the 11th hour.
You made it.
I was like, upcoming, what the hell? I thought it was late.
Yeah, no, you're all right. And we do have another panelist with us today. I'm trying to see what I can what I can give him. What did I give him last time? I forgot. Let's give him. Oh, we'll give him. Oh, you know what? Dude, we gotta give him this one.
I'll have my revenge, and Deathstalker too.
Hey, hungry boy! I gave you the Deathstalker 2 intro. How do you like that?
Oh, that is so funny because being an MST3K fan, you know, that film does not have a patch on the film we're going to talk about tonight for obvious ratings reasons, but perfect intro music. Thank you.
All right. So, unfortunately, Charlie had something come up, so he won't be on tonight, but he did write in his thoughts, so I will read out Charlie's thoughts when the time comes. Let's say hello to Could Not Be Reached. You're already here. You haven't voted yet. You can't decide. Okay, so which one has? I don't know. This was a big question. I was trying to keep notes. I'm thinking Deathstalker has more and possibly better.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Definitely has
I would
bigger
say-
and more.
You'd figure it wouldn't because it's not the Italian-made thing.
Right.
It got more, yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know where they thought they were going to show that. Like, I don't know the theatrical history of this movie, but
right.
I mean, it's interesting you say that, Decepticon, because the thing about Conquest is it's a Spanish-Mexican production.
Yeah.
Right.
And that works great for horror films, but in this case...
Yeah, it's well, we're gonna definitely okay. So let me go through real quick just to recap everybody. So this is we had a qualifying stream a few weeks, about a month ago now, to pick the 8 finalists. We didn't do that for the fantasy. We didn't do that for the sci-fi one, and then the sci-fi streams ended up being so long because we went through so many different matchups that we thought, why don't we just do one stream and pick the top 8 and then go from there? So last time it was Hercules with Lou Ferrigno Part 1 versus the Barbarians, and the Barbarians won. I think it was a pretty clear victory. They pretty much won in every category, and the Barbarians has become just one of my all-time favorites. I've got the soundtrack, and I love the movie. I've made little papercraft characters for Kuchek and Gore, and both Kuchek and Gore have appeared in my Your Hunter from the Future Facebook group as Yours companions. So Yor has teamed up with them in the Facebook group, and I think a lot of people are having fun with that. So then we came up to today, which is going to be Deathstalker. So we're going at the bottom right. We're doing Deathstalker versus Conquest. So that's going to be tonight. So the way this works is we're going to be doing our space system. So we're gonna rank. We're gonna not rank. I'm sorry. We're gonna decide who the winner is in every category. So Hungry, you can go last for the first couple, just so you kind of get the gist of how this works. But let's before we begin, let's just do a quick round table for how we discovered these movies and that kind of a thing. So without saying which ones you like more for whatever reasons, just how you kind of discovered the movies. I'll let Steve go first because it's a short answer. Steve is our control. Basically, Steve is the control here. Hey, Shooter, how's it going? You haven't seen either film? That's all right. We're going to talk about both. So, Steve, I know how you found out about Conquest and Deathstalker, but let us know just so we have kind of like a starting point.
So Deathstalker, I've only heard you and Sean talk about quite a bit. Obviously, the Deathstalker 2, which was Hungry's intro.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie. Conquest, I've never seen. However, back in the day, and this might be a point of interest, is Sean and J-Man at one point wanted to open a movie store, and I believe the initial name was Conquest Video.
Yeah, Conquest Video was because Conquest is awesome. That's what. Yes. Hey Brian, how's it going?
Hey Brian.
Shooter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And that's been my introduction to Conquest. I've been watching.
All right. So yeah, basically, we forced you to watch these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forced you to watch these two movies. Okay. Well, you're the control. So Steve has been the control, and he's probably going to be the control on the rest of this tournament because you don't have any kind of backstory relation to these movies. So you're coming in clean with today's mind. Steve and I and Sean too. I don't know exactly what courses Sean took, but Steve and I were together in university and took many film courses and writing courses and all that stuff. So you're the control. You're like a learned like film person. You've read books and stuff. You know about movies. So you're looking at these movies with a grown-up person's mind, not a kid who's like, "Yeah, this is so good."
Movies.
Yeah. Oh man. Although I did scream that out a couple of times when I rewatched these yesterday. But I asked my wife before we went on. I was like, "Which one did you prefer?" She literally read manga while it was on, and she's like, "I haven't seen either two." I'm like, "You literally sat there while I watched both." And I said, "Okay, do you prefer the one with the naked woman with the snake around her in the metal and the bronze mask, or do you prefer the one with the naked woman with just the cape?" She said, "I don't remember either of these movies." I'm like, "Well, clearly you've missed out."
That was kind of the way I reacted to one of my girlfriends saying, "Which of the Sex and the Cities movies did you prefer?"
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a second one, so I guess I got any. All right, so Sean. I mean, who you could tell the Conquest story, or I can tell the Conquest story, whoever. But what's your relationship to these two movies?
Conquest was a movie that I saw really early, but like I didn't know the name of it, so it's like because I saw it at a friend's house, I didn't rent it myself, and we just rented stuff, and it was awesome, and I forgot the name of the movie because it's kind of a sort of a generic name. It's right. Like, Conquest, right? It's like, it's not like, snake woman boob chick or whatever. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
That's her official name.
Yes. But yeah, I rediscovered it on DVD when it came out. Actually, no.
No, that's a lie.
I bought a VHS.
Yes.
I bought a VHS. There was a stack of VHSs, and we tried to watch it at J-Man's place, and it's the haziest. It's hazy anyways.
Yeah.
But VHS, seen by thousands of people, is the haziest thing. And so we're like, what the hell is this? And then we had to research it with primitive internet and discovered that they shot it that way on purpose.
Right.
Maybe to give off some sort of vibe or hide special effects or something like that, right? Deathstalker, I only saw part 1, and for the longest time didn't see 2, 3, and 4. J-Man showed me 4. He refused to show me 2 and 3 because he was like, they're not that good. So, but I got 2 and 3 of my own, like just different DVDs. Deathstalker is awesome. I mean, there's diminishing returns with 2 and 3. 4 is awesome. The 4 hogshead of milk.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Yeah. Watching these again, holy crap. It's like these things were dismissed as crappy little movies, right? You know, like cheap penny ante stuff. But there's a lot of vision and imagination to these things, and there's a lot of pizzazz and like stuff you don't really see in anything else. So it's really entertaining stuff. So yeah, that's my history of these things.
Yeah, I remember we just saw. I did a movie day, and I did like a Deathstalker day, and I had all the VHS tapes out.
Yeah.
And I made like formal tickets and all that. And I ripped your ticket, and we did Deathstalker. The reason we did Deathstalker 4 is that that's the same actor. 2 and 3 had different actors as Deathstalker, which is weird. And then they got the original guy back for part 4.
Yeah.
And I just like, well, 1 and 4, and it was matching. And part 4 reuses footage from part 1.
But 2 and 3 are almost unrelated. It's
like,
he becomes a god
so
at
cool.
the end of, like, spoilers, everyone.
I love 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I still love Deathstalker 2 and 3, but they're not like 1 and 4 are clearly the ones that are like meant to be together.
Yeah,
like,
it's
just
really 4 is really part 2 to me.
Yeah, 4 is really part 2.
But they're kind of like the ATOR movies. It's like they just release a thing that's called ATOR 2, but it's not really ATOR 2. You know,
right? There's 4 ATORs, and only 3 of them have Miles O'Keefe, right? So
yeah, and even then, there's like different stories sometimes. So yeah,
right.
It's like James Bond with muscles and boobs.
James Bond, yeah. So my thing was that I had seen the Deathstalkers. I bought so I used to go to the video store and buy anything with a Boris cover, or even a Frazetta-ish, anything that was like, to me, like, I didn't say fantasy, or like I would just be like, oh, it's a Boris style, you know, like to me that was just like the type of thing, whether Boris drew it or not. But Boris did do the 4 Deathstalker covers, or at least they took his, you know, paintings for them. So I bought the 4 Deathstalkers on VHS, and I watched them. I was like, well, these are great. And then that's how I got into those, because I love Conan. Conan's my favorite movie. The Schwarzenegger Barbarian Conan is my favorite movie. So obviously I was pumped up for these fantasy things. He-Man is kind of my favorite, you know, cartoon growing up. So I love those fantasy movies. So I got that. Same with Conquest. Now Conquest, Sean had brought over and we watched it. And it was Lucio Fulci, who I owned. At that point, I owned every Lucio Fulci movie that had come out in North America to purchase officially. And I thought he was awesome. So I was like, wow, Lucio doing like a you know, sword and sorcery thing. I was like, this is going to be friggin' outrageous. There is gore and stuff and nudity and all that in here, but it's just like, it was like, whoa, it looked really bad. And I was like, what the hell? It looked like there was like a nylon over the lens or something. Yeah. So then we were at one of our conventions up here in Toronto, and they had a DVD out, and that was the famous story where Sean was holding he's called me on my phone. He's like, Jay, they've got Conquest on DVD at the booth here. I said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Hold on to a copy. And you're like, there's a lot of copies. I was like, listen, if it's gone, like, I was like, if you're not there and it's gone when I get there, I'll be very upset. Right? So I was like, you can wait fucking 5 minutes for me to get down there. It's not going to destroy your day to wait 5 minutes for me to come down there. I didn't even say pay for it. I just said, hold it. I will walk there and take it and buy it. So, and then I did pay you back for Nemesis 4. That was payback for that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's my relationship. So Hungry, what about you with the 2 movies, without giving away which one you like more?
Okay, not going to give away. Yeah. Mine is simultaneously simpler but more convoluted, because I'm older than anybody here, not by much. But when Conquest came out, my stepdad was heavily into bootlegging VHS tapes. Right. So the thing is, I got to see Conquest really early, because he sat there and he was into certain nerd stuff, but not fantasy. And he's like, you like this penny ante, girly stuff with these guys showing a lot of skin and these swords. You'll probably like this. Here, let's watch this for tonight. And he got about like 3 minutes into it, and he went off and, you know, watched some sports on a separate television. And I was watching it. I'd already seen Zombie by Fulci. Yeah. And so I recognized the name. And so as a young teenager, I was very impressed with that, but that was a young teenager's mind. Okay, no spoilers. But we were heavily into the VHS era by the time Deathstalker came around. I was very heavily into Frazetta first, Boris Vallejo second, all fantasy art. Fantasy is a very close second to science fiction for me. So if I saw anything at the VHS shop with a fantasy cover, I was going to give it a try.
Right.
And if it had a Boris cover, I was definitely going to give it a try.
Yeah.
And being a comic book person, if there was a vague implication that it might be comic bookish in nature, plus the fact that also maybe not, I'd played a fair amount of D&D campaigns and it looked like it might be D&D, I was going to give it a try. Oh God, I'm sounding like Gilbert Gottfried on stage.
Yeah.
But I gave it a try, and so I'm glad for the times when I was younger when I saw these films, and I'm glad when I rewatched them again decades later, and I'm glad I rewatched them again this week for this show.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Good. So we're doing good for time. So let's just get right into it. Hey, Masters, how's it going? Okay. So we're gonna break this down using space, story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. We're gonna decide which one has the better, which one wins in each category, and I'm gonna keep everyone's notes, and then the majority wins.
Okay, what does space mean? What's the criterion for space?
So we're gonna we'll go through it letter by letter. So space. So it's story is the first one. So we'll start with Steve on this one. So Steve, which movie had the better story in your opinion, Conquest or Deathstalker, and why?
I mean, both movies. I was sitting there the entire time like this, like.
Yeah, there's no story. Which one has slightly more of a story that you can somewhat kind of follow?
I was like, the hell is going on half the time? I'm like, seriously?
Nobody knows what happened in Conquest.
No,
I've seen that movie like a bunch of times.
There's like
I have
eight
no clue.
monster attacks. It's like you monster. Yeah.
I was just literally like, I watched Deathstalker first, and I was like, Conquest has to have a better story. And then I sat there watching. I'm like, okay, this is really tough.
Yeah, I know. So hold on, Steve. Not to interrupt you, I said the same thing. So I just finished watching Deathstalker. It's like, man, I love this because you watch it for fun. But while I'm watching it now, doing my space notes, I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, there's no storyline in this movie, is there? And I was like, okay. I said, well, Conquest probably has a little bit more. And then I'm like, I have zero notes. I don't have any notes. I wrote nothing. I wrote like I'm like
to get to this, but I want to hear. You guys talk. No, I'm ready. I'm ready. I've got 2 cartridges in the 12 gauge for the story.
All right. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no,
all right. So Steve, continue on. So Conquest. Yep.
Yeah. So I had to really think about this, and I decided to give it to Conquest. Mostly because just more stuff happens, and I guess there's a point to it all. Like I just had to go off that because literally there's no way you can discern between these two movies. It is just like the first 20 minutes of Conquest, I was literally like, is this a joke? Did David Lynch make this movie? I don't understand. And then I'm like, well, it's getting better. And I'm like, I followed it maybe 0.01% better than Deathstalker, but that's not, it's very close because I could not figure out what either movie was doing. So I'm giving it the Conquest just because simply more stuff happened and it seemed that there was more intention behind it than Deathstalker, which pretty much the story ended within the first 10 minutes, and then it was just a bunch of boobs.
Yeah. Okay. Sean. Okay, I'll give you Charlie's vote. Charlie voted for Deathstalker for story. He didn't tell me each. He didn't tell me each category why.
Yeah.
But I'll read you his final thoughts when it's done. So Charlie gave it to Deathstalker. He said he goes there. A lot of it, everything was pretty close. So he just was, swaying to one versus the other. Sean, which one do you think has the better story, Conquest or Deathstalker?
this is gonna squeak out by like a
Hey,
milli
Brennan.
here, right? But I was gonna say Deathstalker because the thing is, Conquest story is like it's just a series of Wile E. Coyote things like wash, rinse, and repeat. Like they go meet these other monsters on the rock, and they go meet these other monsters that are like bat guys, and other monsters that The only interesting thing really is that he gets poisoned, and then dude fights himself. Like what's his name? Mace fights himself, and all that.
Yeah.
That's a nice fun deviation. It's still a wash, rinse, repeat thing until they get to the fish head woman monster person and kill her through a mountain or something. I don't know, whatever. Deathstalker, you're right, Steve. My internet conked out halfway through what you were saying, but I think maybe what you're leaning at is it kind of grinds to a halt when they get to the guy's castle.
Yeah.
It was like, when you're there, kill him. What is this? Like, what's going on? And then they're in this tournament. And I'm like, why are you even in the tournament? It's like at one point he skips out of the tournament and does what he should have done a half an hour ago in the movie.
Yep.
He's like walking around. He's like, okay, where's the amulet and where's the thing, right? There's still a story. There's still a story there. Like it's like they're both kind of whatever, but like so I don't know, man. This is kind of it's a toss. I'm gonna say Deathstalker.
Okay, yo, this has been when I watched Deathstalker, I'll let Hungry go last. When I watched Deathstalker, I didn't watch it in a while, so I was like, oh man, there's like not only is there no story, but at no point in time does anything make sense. That movie is like just under 90 minutes. I would need 90 minutes to explain how it doesn't make any sense. I need to do a commentary. And then I watched Conquest. I haven't seen Conquest in a while. I thought, oh God. These movies have reached new levels of non-story. It's just like and then I went back to Deathstalker, but like literally it's like you must unite these three objects, and I'm like, what, these three dollar store objects? It's like a cup. It looks like a dollar store cup. And I'm like,
my girlfriend had that amulet.
Yeah. No, but like he said to go get those things, and then it's like, I want you to attack this guy and free us. It's like, why should I do that for you? It's like, because you are a hero. It's like, wait, okay, you just saw me 1 minute ago. Like, why? You don't know what I am. I don't know. And then that guy double crosses him. It's like, he goes, I brought you Deathstalker. Wait, how did that happen? It was a random encounter. And Deathstalker's like, yeah, I guess I'll go with you. It's, oh God. I think I'm going to go with Conquest because this is why I'm picking Conquest. I'm going to do F it. I'm picking Conquest. And the reason I'm picking Conquest is because at some point I cared enough to pretend in my mind there was a story.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a story in either, but in my mind I was like, I'm thinking there's a really cool story here. I know there actually isn't one, but I'm going to make one up in my mind because it just seems cool. And Deathstalker just seems like he's just walking around and there's naked chicks. I'm like, are you going to do Deathstalker? When are you going to stalk death? When are you going to do something? I love the fact that these movies promote the idea. This is what these movies promote. They promote the concept that if a female is about to be assaulted by another man, a stranger, if a second stranger shows up, stops the first stranger from committing the assault, the woman will automatically go with the second stranger, no problem. So I started to concoct this scenario where these guys are taking turns. One guy goes to pretend to rape the woman, and then he comes and saves her, and then he gets to do her. And then down the line, this guy starts, and the other guy because it's like, it's like he saves the girl. Now she's with Deathstalker. I'm like, well, he's still a stranger, isn't she? Like, well, thanks for saving me, but I'm not going to do you either. Like, I don't want to do anyone right now. I just wanted to go to the market. Like, it's so weird. Deathstalker is so weird. That's a weird, but man, it is a masterpiece. These two movies are masterpieces because I can't tell I can't even begin to figure out how to make this movie and not have a story. Like a story would have just crept in. Like you just would have been like, okay, so he's got to get these things right. Well, why don't you make each one of them hidden in a different layer? Like just do Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you know, the wizard has the 3 objects or whatever. He doesn't have the sword. He's got the other. Why, you know, the amulet was in some special thing. Just make each object in a special thing, and that's a 20-minute segment. So 20 minutes to get one object, 20 minutes to get the other. Then he gets the 2. He goes to fights the guy. Like just do it, but they lost that. It's like it just became nonsense. And at the end, it's like I've got the 3 things. I'm like,
J-Man, comic book speak for a moment. Okay.
Yeah, go for it. You can start. Which one do you think is better? Which story? Conquest?
I'm going to address your comment and let you go on. It's a difference between an empath and a telepath.
Right.
An X-Men fan knows what I mean.
Right.
It's about the feast. No, it's about the plot. Empath versus telepath. But please continue.
No, I'm done. So, Hungry Boy, which one do you think had the better story, Conquest or Deathstalker? Let me know why, because you're breaking the tie. Steven and I are saying Conquest. Charlie and Sean said Deathstalker, so you're breaking the tie.
Okay, I can barely do this, and the only way I can bring myself to get through what I'm about to say is doing it humorously, so I apologize. Mm-hmm. Okay, now when we look at these stories, one film is like a 12-year-old who loved D&D but wasn't old enough to shave and understand adult relationships, and the other film is like someone who's 45 years old who had only heard of D&D, didn't understand it, but decided to make a D&D movie anyway just to get laid. Okay, the 12-year-old had some vague idea of a story and just tried to play it out on screen, and the other film confused the idea of story with theme, being a perverted Italian guy who obviously just wanted to make another horror film with women getting mutilated but got stuck in a fantasy movie.
Right.
And I love Fulci, so I'm not coming down on him, but it's very clear that he was going to turn this genre into what he wanted, even though it was not his genre. And that played through in the script, even though it wasn't written by him. And we see 3 different people in terms of Conquest listed with story and script. It's very clear that Fulci was basically Tricky Vicky Alonso and said, I don't care what you wrote. I'm going to do my movie anyway. And
we're going to fishbone someone.
Gold woman with a snake going into her hoo-ha, and that's what's going to matter. Making sense does not matter in Conquest at all. Now, when I'm young, that's perfectly fine. I can deal with that when, I'm 13, 14 years of age. But when oh boy, now that I've got gray hairs everywhere, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can handle this. And the thing I really did like about the story of Deathstalker is that it did follow a progression, and at least it had a through line in terms of a script. Okay, and it had a little bit of character development, not much. So Deathstalker is an A-wipe who actually was quite willing to, shall we say, force himself on one of the women at the beginning of the film. And then later on, he is defending people, and he's defending the princess, as we'll get into later. And oh boy, but then you get into the weird stuff in the cave with a hand puppet who later we're told becomes the wise man. We got the hand puppet who's talking like Mel Blanc with a hangover in the cave, when they're trying to discover the sword. And it's very clear that nobody has any idea of what a coherent script is. But you have to go with semi-coherent or suffered a lobotomy. All right. And with Conquest, Fulci just basically lobotomized the movie.
All right. Okay, so Deathstalker wins. So Deathstalker has one story
by 2 hairs.
3, yeah. So 3 to 2. So for pacing, could be if something's too short, or if something's too long, or if it's just too slow, or whatever, depending on how the movie plays out. Because sometimes pacing can be too fast and you've lost something, but it could also be too long because you're like, it's just taking forever to get anything done. So this is a tough one. Both movies, let me look up the time. This doesn't really a big factor, but
80 minutes for Deathstalker and just under 90, I think, for Conquest.
Yeah, so
I would
Conquest
say Deathstalker 79 minutes, but
Deathstalker's 80 minutes and Conquest is 92 minutes.
Are
So
we using fog
they're
as
pretty
a synonym
close.
for pacing?
Sorry?
Are we using fog as a synonym?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you can if you want to. It's like, I don't know. So they're both pretty short. None of them are that long. So Steve, which one do you think is better in pacing?
So the funny thing is about these two movies is I did get something out of them, and that is the difference between a mission and a quest. So a mission is basically something you have to accomplish, and it can only be done by a certain few people or person, which is what I feel Deathstalker was. Right. Quest is where the character grows in some way, or there's some development with the character, which I think they were trying to do with Conquest. I feel like Deathstalker as a mission, he was in the final, he was at the final level within half an hour, and then it was just 40 minutes of dicking around.
Right.
And then at least with Conquest, I felt like there was a gradual, somewhat progression to the characters. Not saying it was great, but I feel like it was there, and both characters did progress. So I'm going to give it to Conquest, just because what it was trying to accomplish, it did it within the time more efficiently than Deathstalker did.
Okay, yeah, this is a tough one. So Charlie put down Deathstalker for pacing as well. He didn't give any of the reasons. I'll read his final thing at the end. So that's where Charlie stands. Let's go Hungry Boy next. Which movie do you think had the better pacing?
Okay, I mean, this is going to be obvious, but first I have to clarify something for Masters Maniac Mexico. I am not coming down on D&D. I played the game for many years, and we did very, very intense story oriented, pacing oriented games involving mythology and accurate folklore. We actually had to remake the rules from Gygax because the guy needed to read a few more books, even though I love him, right? So I just want to make that apology to Masters Maniac Mexico first. There will be no portion of my participation in this program where I make fun of D&D. I might make fun of people's misunderstanding of D&D who never played it, but that's a different situation. Now,
and I played it on Monday, so I play it like every 2 weeks.
You're still there, man. You're still there. So do you generally play, or do you DM as well?
I'm the DM for life. I've never played D&D. I'm always the GM. Or
and you,
DM.
As a writer, take your time creating interesting NPCs with individual voices and interactive properties. God damn it!
I don't do any of it. My voice are very like, I get to the action. That's like, I do the story, then action, then story, and then that's the session. And then it's all just like action-y stuff. We're doing Spelljammer right now.
Okay. And that's what these movies should have done, right?
Yeah, they needed to get to their. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and this new D&D movie needs to get to it too. It's like, get to the mission. Anyways, all right. So pacing. Which one do you think is better for pacing?
It's obviously Deathstalker, because there are times I will give you one example of the pacing gone wrong that solidifies the point for Conquest. How many minutes did we spend on the damn raft in the fog with pulsating boils? That was interminable. That just went on. That could have been cut down to 1 minute and 20 seconds at most. And yet we had to suffer that. And then, some of the other scenes that just went on and on because Fulci realized he had a great cinematographer, or he would have been great if he hadn't had Vaseline on the lens.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, I'm gonna, because we don't want to go too long. I'm just obviously giving it to Deathstalker, which also moved neatly from scene to scene and made use of what probably was the best editor they had access to at the time, at a time when people were still cutting film with razor blades.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'll give you one for that.
Hello. Oh, Cassandra. Oh, I love Cassandra. Oh boy.
All right. Okay. Sean, what did you think had the better pacing?
I said Deathstalker as well.
All right.
Because I don't know, they're both whatever, but like, but Conquest. The problem is it's like the same thing over and over again, and also there's a lot of lingering shots. Like Fulci's very enamored by his shots, right? So there's like those dirty people in the beginning, and you know, and all sorts of other weird stuff. But and the boils, you know, I don't know, like Deathstalker. I felt it zipped along fairly well. Although I did feel like the story itself ground to a halt when they were in the tournament and all that stuff. The tournament's still like there's still cool things to see, like that pig man and you know and all that stuff. And there's things that progress within that tournament as well. Like the pig guy dies, you know, eventually, and now the one guy turns on him and all that. It doesn't make any sense, but there it is. But I'm gonna say Deathstalker. And plus, it's like, yeah, it's 80 minutes. It's like, psh.
This is tough because I actually like both movies, like, you know, pacing wise. It's weird because, man, I think maybe Deathstalker has the better pacing, but I think I'm kind of with Conquest because I like that. I like living in the world of Conquest where you can't see anything. I don't know. I feel like Deathstalker, it's just like at some point in time, like they're just at that party. I'm like, yeah, I'm good with this party. I don't really need to be here anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so Mike Stoklasa from Red Letter Media right now.
Yeah, no, no. Oh gosh, yeah, no. No, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. Like I got it. The party's going on, and then it's just going on and on. I'm like, I think I want to be back in that Misty River or whatever. like, because at least it's peaceful. It's like this. I don't know. I'm gonna give it to Conquest. Deathstalker already won, so my vote doesn't matter. But I'm giving it to Conquest because it's like, and in that tournament, like it's the most non-tournament tournament that there ever was. It's like it's just people fighting. I'm like, so is this a tournament? I actually liked the story idea of the wizard having a tournament in order to eliminate his enemies.
Yes.
That was really good. Like the first, well, Steve said the first like half an hour of Deathstalker, like, okay, yeah, here we go. This is like getting pretty good, right? Like, okay, wait, this guy's got this thing going.
Yeah,
he's got to get these.
Like, they don't know what to do with that. Yeah.
And that's why I went with Conquest even with that, because I'm like, you know what? At least they're like from the beginning saying, look, this is nonsense. It's just these two guys walking around all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fine. It's like Deathstalker teased me with a story and then it didn't give it to me.
But it had clever moments.
It did have good. Yeah, they're tough. This is a tough call. But yeah, I'm going to stick with. I'm going to give it to Conquest. Screw it. All right, let's do the artistry now. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be pretty interesting.
Damn it.
Because I mean, yeah. All right. So Charlie gave the artistry. He actually said this was the closest for him. But he actually gave it to Deathstalker, but he said he was very close on the artistry for this one. The music's pretty good in Conquest, though.
Yeah.
And I do like the, there's like good gore, and I like the magical weapons thing, and the guy's got the nunchucks and stuff. And like they look like Deathstalker himself looks cool. I can't take the shirt, the half shirt, guy or whatever, the bra guy or whatever, crop top guy. I'm like, I know that's a hairband thing, and it's like, I don't like that in either. But anyway, so let's go, Sean. What do you think had the artistry? We'll start with you this time.
Okay, well, this will be controversial, perhaps.
Uh-oh, it's Conquest?
It's it's
Wow.
Conquest, man. It's like, listen, okay. Here's my and Hungry's gonna slap me from across the ocean here.
No, but Sean, I might extend the hand. I don't know, because I was leaning towards Okay, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say was, to me, Conquest looks the most like the old paperback covers of of very atmospheric, hazy, if you will, mountainy areas with dudes with weapons and stuff fighting guys that look like monsters. It looks like that to me more so than Deathstalker. Deathstalker, I mean, a couple years later, that look would basically be pilfered for Conan. No, not Conan. Hercules and Xena and stuff, right? It looks like cheap TV stuff. But yeah, Conquest has that going for it. I mean, that's the sort of upshot of that hazy look. There's a lot of down shots to that too. I like all the monsters in it. I love the gore. And it's refreshing to me actually, that gore and monster stuff. Like the horror elements of this movie are really, really welcome, and something that should be capitalized for other fantasy pictures. I don't know. I'm gonna give it to Conquest, man. Yes, I know that they smeared the frickin' lens with something, but to me, out of the two movies, it looks the most like fantasy stuff with like cool guys with like mega weapons destroying like monsters and stuff. It just looks like that more to me than Deathstalker.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say Conquest as well, though I do actually think it's very close. But Sean, yeah, I like that point. The music's also cool, but also for me, because both movies, like Deathstalker looks a bit cheaper, and Conquest is like they wanted to make it like that, so it was like that's what he was going for. But my thing too is that like when it's all said and done, I remember Zora, like the Snake Woman. I remember that like basically he looked like a oh my god, I forgot their name. He looked like an Ice Warrior, that Ice Warrior guy, except he didn't have the mouth.
Nice callback, but he looks like a 60s Ice
Warrior. Yeah. Oh yeah, the new Ice Warriors look badass. But yeah, no, I like the old Ice Warriors too. But he looked like kind of an Ice Warrior. So I remember that. Like I remember the Ice Warrior. The only guy I remember is the pig guy from Deathstalker.
Yeah.
And Blondie with her cape. I remember her. But like
I feel come off a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the because it feels like there's more fantasy things going on in Conquest. I like having the arrow shootout, and then it multiplies out, and then, like right after that weapon, this is like the glaive or whatever. As soon as that weapon came out, if you're playing D&D, everyone's like, "Oh, can I get one of those laser things?" No, you can't get that weapon. Stop it. It's like because there's a cool weapon. The villain woman is weird. She has a spiky jock strap where like she massages the snake.
It's an Merkin is what it is.
Okay, there. Yes. So she, it's like she has all the. It just I remember the scenes more, and the two guys they do look like Conan style guys, right? Like it's like they look like the Frazetta guys and the Boris guys. The Deathstalker himself. We'll get to characters next, but just look wise. I don't know. I think I know Conquest. Yeah, it's got the sock. It's got the nylon over its lens, but I don't know. I'm all right with that. I got used to it, and then I just accepted it. That's the other thing too. I got used to it when we had first watched it. I got used to it watching it again on Blu-ray, and then it was just the movie. I didn't really, I think you have a different opinion if you're a student of today's thing. It was like, I've got a 64 inch TV, and I'm watching this on Blu-ray. Like, holy crap. And you're like, I just watched Endgame that last week, and then I watched this, and I'm like, oh, okay, but whatever. So
two very different movies. Yeah.
Two very different movies. Okay, so Hungry Boy, what did you think had the better artistry? So artistry would be the look, the music, the costumes, kind of. Oh, plus nunchuck weapons. If there's nunchucks in a movie, it's automatically awesome. Just like John Wick 4. The second he pulled the nunchucks, I was like, oh, that's it. This movie's good. Anyways, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Hungry.
Hey, all right. Well, you're talking to the retired comic book artist here, so
Yes.
I'm going to warn everybody. This is where I'm going to be bitchy.
All right.
Okay, but it's going to be lovingly bitchy. Okay, so think Dennis Miller, circa 1991.
All right. It's a good Dennis Miller.
Some notes. I actually wrote notes.
Oh, nice. All right.
So the first thing is about Deathstalker. Do not kill blonde Sonya, not red Sonya, early in the film. She should have been. They promised us, they teased us with a dialogue that she was going to be, challenging men.
Yeah.
And they killed her off early. So why show us the boobs? Why show us the swordplay? Artistically, as a comic book artist, you fail on that one. It's going to be one of the few fails I give Deathstalker here. So number 2, now we move on to Conquest. It is so wackadoodle and delightful that they chose an utterly hot woman with a ghoul face.
Right.
That is so weird. I've never seen that in almost anything else. Now, comparing it to beginnings and endings, these films are both very, very comic booky. Okay, but Conquest is like Metal Hurlant, otherwise known as heavy metal.
Yeah.
Deathstalker is like, what if Savage Sword of Conan had no ratings and could show everything?
Right.
And so we're getting a little bit of stuff in terms of the artistry that I really liked about Deathstalker. When you look at the blocking of the shots, what would have gone into the storyboards, it's very, very comic booky, and it's very action oriented, but it's also very character in foreground versus placement of what's going on in the background. Okay. And then you have, just as a little side note for anyone who was there in the 80s, in the harem, they had a Sheena Easton type, and I liked that. And then you have aesthetically, you always need a gross hand puppet. And we have a gross hand puppet in this movie eating fingers and eyeballs. So special points to Deathstalker for the gross hand puppet. And then I have to deduct some points from Conquest visually in terms of the art, because if you're going to spend this time constructing the shots, if you're going to spend this time making the costumes, do not hide it with Vaseline and fog. And finally, the music. I don't know why Deathstalker, aside from being Italian, decided they needed some Sergio Leone ripoff Western music in it, but I loved it. It was baffling.
Man.
I dig it. And sometimes the music in Conquest, it was a little bit too plinkety on the synthesizer. Yeah. And now I'm done.
All right. So hold on. What did you say was better? I missed all your ups.
Deathstalker.
Oh, Deathstalker. Okay, sorry, Deathstalker.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you, Stephen.
All right, Deathstalker. All right. Well, Steve, you are breaking the tie. This is crazy. Which one had the better artistry for you?
Well, both had soundtracks that were relentlessly heroic.
Right.
Very aggressively heroic, and they kept interjecting throughout. I liked the sets of Deathstalker. I liked how that looked. Costumes were fine. Conquest, the fog didn't bother me because I'm so used to these weird ass, movies now where I'm like, oh yeah, it's fog and all that. Cinematography was okay in Conquest when I could see it. I would say I'm going to give it to Conquest.
Nice.
Only because a lot like what J-Man said, it just had more in it. I feel like they drew on the Wizard's head and they thought that was a done deal, and I just I wish it
and it changed when they reversed shots.
It changed, and like I don't know. I just opted out. Like after that, like I just kept watching the tattoo on his head that I'm like, someone just drew on him with ink. I'm like, whatever. I don't know. I think the like a shocker, like the bronze mask comes off. I like the bronze mask, and then she had that weird face, and I'm like, I didn't expect that.
Right.
There was a lot of stuff I didn't expect or necessarily want. Like I said, the fog was just. But it's supposed to be. I got what they were trying to do. I just wish they hadn't done it. But I'm going to give it to Conquest.
Okay.
Oh my God, I just wish they hadn't done it. I love it.
All right. So now we're on to the characters. So Charlie picked Deathstalker as well for the characters. So I mean, Charlie picked Deathstalker for all the categories.
Yeah,
so obviously he obviously enjoyment, he gave it to Deathstalker. So it's tough. I would say that I'm not sure if any of you guys. I know Steve does not have it. I don't think Sean has it either. I'm not Hungry Boy. I don't know if you have it, but the Blu-ray of Conquest comes with some really awesome interviews with Mace. So who's played by Jorge Rivera.
Yep.
Who is in a lot. He's in a John Wayne movie. He's been with John Wayne, Charlton Heston.
Yep.
I think Maude Adams was in a movie. He's like, what was the other one? He's in a lot of high profile movies. And the thing is that after I watched Conquest, I watched half an hour. He's 80 something years old. He's still going to the gym every day. He looks great for his age. I watched this half an hour interview at his house where he just talked about how much he loves being in movies and how much he loves everything he's ever done. And he's like, Conquest is the best movie ever. He loves it. He's like, I can't believe I got this great opportunity and all this. And I'm sitting there watching this. I'm like, oh man, this guy's like, so like, I'm thinking back. I'm like, I think Conquest is my favorite movie of all time. it's like, because the thing is the guy was so, and then he's like, then they brought me and I worked with John Wayne. Can you believe it? And he's like, John Wayne's the best. And it's like every person he's ever worked with is the best person ever.
It's like being a comic book artist and saying my work on Jim Shooter's New Universe was the best of all time.
Sure, why not? Yeah. I like guys that are pumped up for what they're doing, and then that gets you excited too. Cause it's like, I hate when they're just like, oh, he was great to work with. And it's just like, stock phrases. But this guy's he's an old man. He's got nothing to lie about. He doesn't care, right? Like,
and he got a lot of screen time, and the camera loved him. And Fulci did, as a respect to Fulci made him look magnificent in Conquest, regardless of anything else. But I'll shut up and let you go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No, so I mean, characters. It's kind of tough. I think I'm gonna say Conquest, and I did watch that. Like I did watch that thing right after the movie, but I felt that Zora was scarier than the wizard. He seemed like like Richard Mall or something. Like he seemed like this is like so Zora seemed very creepy. And her entire thing with the snake is just like, this is really weird. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to hang out with her. And like, it's just like, no. And then the Ice Warrior fellow was kind of cool. I like the two guys. I like, he's like, oh, I'm not worthy of all this. It's like, no, you're good. I don't know. I just kind of thought they were neat. I like those two guys walking around. Now, Deathstalker had the same characters. There was your big muscly guy, and then there was your more skillful guy. And they did have a cool thing where he turned on him and all that. But I was I didn't like that. I kind of wanted them to be together because I thought it was cool that they were teaming up. And Deathstalker, to me, it's like he's just like, he's not really a hero, and he goes out of his way to say that. And it's like, well, you're the only one who could do this. It's like, yeah, but you're not a hero. And this isn't even like Conan, you could say he's a hero or not, but he's driven to a purpose. It's like, I'm going to kill Thulsa Doom, and that's what I'm going to do in this movie. And that is a net good, right, for everybody. It's good if Thulsa Doom is killed. This one, Deathstalker's like, yeah, I just doing random stuff. And it's like, he's not really pumped up to do things on his own. He's kind of just told what to do. Whereas the other guys feel like they're more excited to go on these missions or whatever, like Ilias and Mace or whatever. It's like, yeah, we got to go stop her and all that. It's like, okay, let's stop her. I don't know. You can make some of the same arguments for Conquest 2 that I just made against Deathstalker, but I don't know. I just felt more excited about the guys, and that, unfortunately, I did watch that interview, and that got me so excited for the character of Mace. So I was probably like swayed with that interview. But anyway, I'm going to say Conquest. So Hungry Boy, let's go with you next. Which characters did you like better in which movie?
Okay, so bouncing off what you just said, my problem is, and this is a great stream because we're all disagreeing on certain points and agreeing on other points.
Yeah.
My thing with Conquest is there are only two characters. There's Mace, and then there's the female witch. These are the only two characters. So the other guy, although he is a great villain, Zora, he is a cipher. He's a complete cipher. The only thing we know about him was that he was a noble wolf spirit who got condemned to being in this weird messed up body in this weird suit, helping this weird sexually messed up witch who says, she's like, I will give you my body if you kill Mace.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there going, okay, Fulci, come on, give us a little bit more.
Okron or Okron or whatever.
Okron,
I forgot to mention her. She was awesome. She's super weird, right? Like, how can I forget her?
She's a wolf spirit too, which I thought was interesting. But anyway,
it showed up at the end. Yeah, it showed up at the end, Sean. I appreciate that. I do like it that, okay, she was defeated and she gets to run off with the sexual carnal love of her life, Zora. At the end, that part I do like, but
a happy ending.
More theme than character. And J-Man, as a writer, knows there's a difference, a separation between theme and character. Whereas with Deathstalker, we have, and this is going to be a foreshadowing of what I might be saying about Hawk the Slayer. It doesn't matter how cheap things are, but if a character is well defined with something that an audience can latch onto, certain traits, then yes, you can have fun with it. And one of my favorite characters in Deathstalker, and I don't think that Conquest had this, was the silly witch trying her best to help everyone out, and they didn't even give her any prosthetic makeup. It was stage paint, and they didn't even do her neck. They didn't do her neck. They didn't do her hands, and it looked great. And I was totally buying into it, and she was totally giving her all to the character. I love the witch, and she shows up at the end, and you know the bad guy Mugnarok or whatever, Muckrock. No, Monk Rock. Was that it?
Monk Rock.
Hold on. Let me get his name.
I mean, this guy was giving everything to it, and it was kind of like, oh, I think my grandkids play D&D.
Oh, Munkar.
Yeah, Munkar. That was it.
Yeah, Munkar,
I mean, I should remember it. I was just rewatching the film.
No, I had to pull it up. I didn't remember either.
Oh, but the thing is, he really was giving his everything to being this villain heavy, and then you had like his sidekick who got turned into the princess.
Yeah.
Right? That was a great, clever moment. That was very clever. They used the plot to make the character clever because he's actually very invested in helping his liege, helping his liege win his evil day scheme. And he doesn't like it at the beginning, but then they kind of show he's getting into it, when he's fully in female mode, and when he's out of it and he gets kicked out, he loves the idea of being able to trick Blondie Blonde in the corridor, And unfortunately, that's where we lose Blondie Blonde, and I'm still pissed off because no, she should have been a final girl in this movie. She should have been a final girl.
I agree.
And so with characters, I think if you're looking at the D&D paradigm, then you certainly have to give it to Deathstalker. If you're looking at the metaphysical paradigm and film where theme is more important, you have to give it to Conquest. But in this case, I am going to give it to Deathstalker on character once again.
Okay.
Also, hand puppet in the cave, bitching about eating bugs. Okay, that was charming and funny, although terribly, terribly done.
It's a boglin, basically. It's like
Yes, it is. They brought those back out. Did you see that, Sean?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, you got a new one?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was dude. I thought that was an old one because they're pretty much.
It's the same thing, but yeah,
it's the same thing.
It's the new one, but it's like in the cage and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's
I've used it
fun.
at work a couple of times for presentations. So.
Oh my god! Oh, wow. All right, Sean. Since you're talking already, which one had the better characters for you?
I'm gonna go with Conquest, because look, man, Ilias and Mace or Ilya or whatever that guy's name
Ilias.
Was, it's like Luke and Han, man. You know, and when they're talking and comparing lands and all that stuff and talking about culture and all that stuff, which is kind of unexpected in this movie, but like it's sort of like Conan and Subutai talking about the gods and all that, right? It's kind of neat. I liked Zora and I liked Okran as well. Their weird sort of like sexual tension between each other and I love at the end where Okran gives him a final Okran gives Zora a final command and he's sort of like they're sort of like an old married couple by the end of the movie. Like he's gotta go do this now. I kind of like the whole wolf thing at the end. You know, it was unexpected. They go off and live happily ever after, I guess. Yeah, no, I just for my problem with Deathstalker is I don't like the Deathstalker character, and he's sick. Yeah, and I can't get behind him. Even when he has the god powers at the end, he's sort of like the first few things he does is just like selfish, stupid stuff. Like you know, and that one guy gets drawn and quartered, and he's just like, I get it, like he's the villain, right? But they didn't make him. I mean, the only agency he has there is he throws them at the people, which was kind of a neat touch. But
that was cool.
Throughout the movie, he's just a molesting dude. It's like I don't. It's like, and he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. Oh no! It's like, good God! Like, what is this? Like, I get he's the flawed hero, but it's a bit too flawed for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Conquest.
All right. Yeah, that was my thing. Deathstalker, he's just kind of an ass. I think the character of Deathstalker is better in part 2 because that guy's more like get him, like he's a go-getter.
Yeah.
And I don't mind Deathstalker in part 4. For some reason, I
do like that they call him Stalker sometimes. I was
yes,
like, is his first name Death? His last name Stalker?
I love that. Yeah, I'm gonna steal that and just use that as a thing now.
But, I mean, it's almost just one point, and then I'll shut up. But it's almost like in the first film, they knew they had the freedom to have the full gore and the full nudity, and in the second film, they didn't have that latitude.
Right.
Yeah.
So the script had to be better. The characters had to be better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I have to watch part 3 again. That's my least watched one.
Right.
I have to rewatch that. I don't have. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 on DVD. I'm sorry. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on VHS, and I have 1 and 2 on DVD. 3 and 4, I just could not find those in any way.
Yeah, 3 I have on VHS somewhere.
But
you're right. I don't know if that came out on any.
No, the 4-pack that you and I are talking, or that you're talking about, Sean, which is probably what I have, which is Deathstalker 1 and 2, Barbarian Queen 1, and the Warrior and the Sorceress. That's the 4-pack.
Okay, I have a question just before we move on from character.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think either of these films, ignoring when they came out, etc., could have benefited a little bit from looking? Because I'm looking at could not be reached for further comment, and what he said, paying attention, respect to him. I like a lot of what he says in various streams that he comes into. They maybe should have looked a little bit at Full Moon films and looked at things like Doll Man.
Yeah, Doll Man's cool.
And thought, okay, you have to add some charm to the personality to hook the audience.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a little bit missing. I mean, it is what it is. Like, But all right, Steve. So it's your turn for characters. You want to break the tie? Sean, can you still hear us? Are you still
Yeah,
there?
I can hear you now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It felt like you cut out or something.
I cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so because it's
Yeah.
like. Okay, so yeah, Steve, which one did you like for the characters?
So I was watching Deathstalker, and the girl's tied up, and the guy's molesting her, and Deathstalker walks in and he breaks it up. I'm like, this guy's awesome,
Right?
And then he just jumps in there, and I'm like, this guy sucks. I'm like, this is the hero.
Yeah, I know.
And that's how I felt through the entire. Like, I felt like he was just like, how can I sleep with as many women as possible? When he was, and like, the problem is, like, I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, fine. When he gets Lana Clarkson at the in the dark, and then the thief guy wakes up and he's watching and he's giggling, and I'm like, is it just me? Is it now just me where I'm like, this is weird, and like these people are acting weird? What is going on? And by the end, I know he's going to, be the hero because that's what the script entails, but it didn't feel like it to me. I did like Richard Brooker, who was Jason in Part 2, who was the best friend who turned on him out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But other than that, I felt like the only character really was Deathstalker for me. Everyone else was there.
Right.
With Conquest, I didn't think it was a lot better. I did think, like, it was kind of cool to have Zora and all that. But ultimately, they, the female witch would show up, the snake gyrate, all this. I have to stop. I'm seeing a faceless character come at me. Okay, sure. Like, a lot of it was, I sat there and said, okay, sure. What worked for me at Conquest was the swerve I got, where they set this up like it's Ilias's story, and Ilias is a decent character, but then Mace is the one who actually has the growth of character, which I did not call. And I really liked Mace in the movie. Immediately, as soon as he showed up and I was like, this guy is great. Quite frankly, I liked the two heroes in Conquest more than I liked Deathstalker, and so I have to give it to Conquest.
Yeah, that was my thing too. It's like, it's just simple. I like those two guys. I like Okron. I like Zora. It's like, they're kind of cool. The villain is a bit cheap for me, and Deathstalker, I like him because he's a big muscular guy and he's just cool that way. But I'm like, he's not like, I'm not gonna make a papercraft character of him like I did. Well, maybe I will. That's a lie. Maybe I still will. But I made the Barbarian Brothers immediately because they're the best characters ever in any movie. But like, to me, it's like, Mace is just badass. He just looks like he's badass too, right? Like, he's just got like this face. You're like, oh yeah, this guy's like not messing around with you, All right, so okay, this is crazy, guys. We have a tie. We've got story and pacing have gone to Deathstalker. And everything, this has been the closest verses that I've ever done. Not just for fantasy or like any of them. Like, Batman versus Batman Begins was not as close as this is. It's like, I mean, we did, Raiders of the Lost Ark versus Temple of Doom was not as close as what this is or whatever. Okay.
Hooray for cheap cinema.
Yes. Well, this is what now you weren't here last time, Hungry. Barbarians won like almost full. Like, everyone voted for Barbarian. Like, pretty much.
Hercules.
I would have added to that vote. Yes, I would have.
Yeah. Steve gave a little bit. I think Steve gave a nod to Hercules for the pacing, but that's the only vote it got for anything. Yeah. But I mean, and even in that, you were pretty close, right, Steve? It was just like a hair difference, right?
It was extremely difficult with the pacing for those movies.
It's pretty much a tie, but you just picked Hercules. That's sort of.
I picked Hercules. Not to get into it too much. I just felt like there was opportunities to trim on Barbarians that I didn't.
Not as much.
Nothing to trim on Hercules. Zero. Right.
So to go along with the story.
Yeah.
We can't. If they trim anything more, it's like.
Well, you get excited because you think they're going to do the trials when they do the stables.
They did this,
and then they
that was
dropped
it.
that, and I'm like,
they picked the least interesting trial.
Yeah, cleaning.
Let's pick the stables. Who cares? I gotta clean my bathtub. Like, well, I don't want to see this. All right. Okay, so this last category is anything goes. You just pick which movie you like better. So enjoyment. So Hungry Boy, you're new. The way I do my ratings is how we've been doing it, and how I rate movies is I actually give a score to each of these sections. So for space, it's story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. I give a score. So 2 points is the best you can get for a story. So if you give a 2 in every category, that's a 10 out of 10 movie. And the way I do it is I take the movie and I play it against itself and its peer group. So I don't review Raiders of the Lost Ark versus like Empire Strikes Back or something. It's like that. Those are not peer group movies. It's
genre
like
specific is
genre
specific always.
Yeah. And also even like it's like Lord of the Rings is not going to go up against Deathstalker, right? Like it's just not, so that's how, so like Conquest versus Deathstalker, this is a fair match, right? This is,
and just like you don't compare the others to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Exactly. Right. And those are both great films that are great in their thing. So if I give a movie 10 out of 10, I'm not saying, because it's like, if I gave 10 out of 10 to Texas Chainsaw, I'm not saying, well, that's equal to Lawrence of Arabia, which I also gave 10 out of 10. I'm like, no, Lawrence of Arabia is great. It's a perfect film for that kind of movie that it's doing, and Texas is perfect for its kind of movie.
So From Russia with Love, I
love Russia with Love. I love that movie. That book, that's my favorite book of the Bonds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love that book. And that movie I did not like when I first saw it. And then I read the book. I was like, oh, this book is awesome. Then I watched the movie again, and I loved it. Yeah. All right. So the enjoyment category, though, so the enjoyment category is anything goes, because movies still are intangible. Like I might say the story was piss. I didn't like the characters, whatever. But then you're like, yeah, but I like this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then I give it a couple of points to kind of give it a little bit more. Like, you don't want every movie to get like a 4 or 5 out of 10. There's got to be some kind of intangible thing where you're like, yeah, this is a bit of a silly movie, but I really liked it anyway. And then it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's like a 7 or an 8. You know what I mean? And sometimes the enjoyment factor can give a point or two to that. So for this category, you just have to tell me which one you liked better. It doesn't matter what your reasons are. Of course, you give reasons, but it's not, you're not going to be scrutinized. It's anything. You're like, I like Deathstalker because the name is cooler. Like it could be just that, because it's whatever you want. It's your own personal thing, whichever one you happen to like more. So okay. Charlie, I'll read Charlie's thing first because he gave me his thing. Yeah. So Charlie prefers Deathstalker. He says he couldn't get over the filming choice for Conquest. It made it hard to focus on what was happening. And he's like, yes, it was ethereal and the gore and all that. He goes, he loved all that. He still liked it, but Deathstalker a little bit more. He said, Deathstalker is exactly what I'm expecting from a C-level Conan knockoff. It's like sword fighting, muscles, boobs. It definitely could have used more gore. Even the dude beats another dude, even though the dude beats another dude with his arm. So he still prefers Deathstalker. I totally understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
So I get that, and I love the Deathstalker. I had these on VHS, right? And I converted Deathstalker 3 and 4 because I actually had a VHS to DVD converter, and I converted them myself to DVD. Just because they weren't available. So I have, it's like a dual thing. You actually put in, you could record what it watches. Yeah. So I actually recorded the Deathstalkers, and that's how I got Conquest as well. Now I don't need that because got the DVD and the Blu-ray. But okay, so let's go with Steve. Which one did you like more? And you can give your reasons if you want to.
So I'm just going to say this: the thing that turned me on Conquest, and this was saying something like, because I had to watch 45 minutes of pus and pustules and that, and like boils. When Mace was tied up to the cross, and they're like, "Tell us where your friend went," and he's like, "No." I'm like, this guy is awesome. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, this is when Ilias died. I was shocked.
Yeah.
and I was like, this is Mace's story, not Ilya's. I just like the two of those guys going around doing stuff. Doesn't make sense, no. But I prefer those two guys going around than Deathstalker going around. It's going to be Conquest.
No, that's perfect. Like, for me, end of the day, if you're talking to me about space, fine. But if you're talking to me just privately and say, hey, what do you... I usually go with characters. Like, characters to me, like, if the storylines piss, this is why I like movies that are kind of inferior. I'll just say I like Conquest more. I'll just tell my thing. I like Conquest more. And the same reason. I like those two guys walking around. I like the villains. They look cool. And yeah, look, Deathstalker's awesome. Mm-hmm. I bought them all. I've watched them a bunch of times. I still think Deathstalker looks cool. Like, it looks like a cool movie, and I'm into it. And I like, the brutality and the boobs and the idea of the tournament and all that. But I'm just pumped up for Conquest. I was pumped up from that day we watched it on VHS, and I thought this is kind of a unique movie that I really haven't seen anyone even attempt to do anything like this. And you could say it's a fail in the artistry, but I mean, I don't know. I still kind of think it's neat. I like the posters. There's so many cool different posters for it. Obviously, the Boris poster is amazing. But I just like that they're like, let's have a nunchuck guy, right? Let's have an energy bow. Let's have that masked woman, with the snake around her, and she's naked all the time, because that is what those Boris pictures are.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you tasked me to make one of these fantasies, and you can give me anybody, I'll take the Barbarian Brothers. I'll take Deathstalker. I'll take a Hercules. I'll take anybody. If you want me to do it, I'm going to end up making something that obviously will look a little bit cleaner than Conquest, but there's going to be nudity and there's going to be gore, because that's what it is to me. Yeah. Conan the Barbarian is my favorite movie of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. It's the best of everything you can ever get. It is literally that. It's not exactly Robert E. Howard's creation. It's not exactly those pulp books. That's fine. And we all own them all. That's fine. But it's pretty damn close to like what I want out of a sword and fantasy, sword and sorcery, sword and sandals, whatever. Sword and sorcery is really what it is. That's what, and this movie tried to be that and succeeded more than than Deathstalker. And I just like, there's so many cool ideas, and I like Mace better. He's just a cool guy. I like the nunchucks. I like all that stuff. So, and there's like, wolf creatures and things. That's kind of cool. So that's it. As simple as that. I like Conquest more. Sean, why don't you go next?
I'll go with Hungry first.
Oh, you want to go with Hungry? Okay. Hungry Boy, what do you think? Which one do you like more? Just no reason at all.
Can I give my choice and then give my reasons?
Sure. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know for sure. But I'm saying we're not going to hold you to task on that and say, well, are you sure? Like, it's whatever you want to say.
Artistically, it's like a dog with a bone, dude. Okay.
Right.
So I'm like this with all genres. I will be, just warning you, if you ever invite me back, I am the dog with the bone. All right. And now it may be a cute little fluffy dog, but I'm the bone. All right. I'm not a pit bull. I'm just a little happy beagle. But the thing about it is, I got to go with Deathstalker on the merits for several reasons. Now, number one, and I'm going to start with a serious reason, and then I'm going to finish up with the jokey reasons. When you do a film, just like if you're a writer for a graphic novel, you have a remit, okay? And your remit is to live up to what the genre or subgenre is. And I honestly thought that the director of Deathstalker was living up to the remit more than Fulci was, and where Fulci seemed to be saying, yes, you want me to do a fantasy, barbarian, sword and sorcery thing, but I'm going to add my own stuff to it, even though it hurts the film. So I love Fulci, but I didn't respect that. I did respect what the director of Deathstalker did in that regard. Now, next, being a comic book guy, you have the Perez group scene in the best pub brawl ever filmed. The whole harem, okay, and everybody, and the introduction of the pig orc guy. Right. And it's almost like a Simpsons parody of such a scene 5 years before the Simpsons even started. And so, I've got to respect that.
Right.
And so I'm giving that to Deathstalker with extra points. And then finally, I'd have to say that, and this is again a really raunchy joke because we talk about exploitation films all the time here.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're doing harem scenes, most films, exploitation films, almost all boobs and no buns, at least in terms of true equality versus what Berkeley and Portland and San Francisco says, there were as many buns as boobs in the harem. So extra points, and I give it to Deathstalker.
Okay. Sean, you are okay. So Sean, are you, I don't know if you're ready for this responsibility. This is like 12. No, this is, I was going to say 12 Angry Men. This is like A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Where you ever remember when Jack Nicholson was like, I have a responsibility you cannot fathom. Sean, your responsibility is enormous because right now, just to recap and to drag this out a minute or two, is that Deathstalker has won in the story and pacing categories by a 3-2 vote, just barely winning on both categories. But Conquest has won on the artistry and characters by 3-2 votes, just barely. We are now at a situation where this final category will decide the winner and which movie will advance into the next round. And the current status is that it has 2 votes for Conquest and 2 votes for Deathstalker. Sean will decide who wins tonight. I'm so happy it's you and not me. Because this happened last time.
Yeah.
And it was on me, and everyone hates my guts. Everyone hates my guts, even though there's other people on the panel. I get the most hatred from someone who I won't mention their name. Masters Maniac Mexico. Oops, did I mention their name? Sorry. So this is all on you, buddy. What are you gonna pick for your favorite movie?
Very dramatic. I hope my internet doesn't cut out when I say this. So, look, for favorite, the movie out of these 2 movies that I've seen the most over the years, that popped into my player to watch just randomly because I like it more than the other, is Conquest.
Oh,
and the reason why is because I'm sorry, I don't like that freaking Deathstalker guy. He's an asshole. It's like I don't want to spend time with that guy. It's like I like these 2 other guys. They're cool, man. It's like there's a lot of gallantry in this, more so than Deathstalker. And it's like I like revisiting that. You know, when the one guy dies for the other, and then he carries on the legacy and all that. It's awesome. It's cool. And yes, it drags. And yeah, there's Vaseline on the lens, but like, but it's, I don't know. It's got cool monsters. It's got gore. One guy gets like the top of his head shaved off. It's wicked. It's like, I don't know.
What do you mean 1 person? There are 3 people who get their head shaved off.
There's a one that makes love to a snake. It's like
from the head.
Yeah, it is cool, man. I think what really brings me back is those 2 guys. That, you know, it's just 2 guys on an adventure, man, and just the friendship there. I think Deathstalker might be a little bit. I mean, look, Deathstalker's awesome, but the characters might be a little bit too mean spirited for me.
Right.
Just they're sloppily written in a way. Everything's sloppily written with these 2 movies, but like, but I think there's more heart and soul. Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying there's more heart and soul in Conquest than there is Deathstalker.
There's more heart and soul.
Okay, here
what
we
you
go.
just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I mean, the guy who gave us the Beyond.
This is the only
I love the
time
Beyond.
that will be said for Conquest.
I want to talk about the Beyond with you guys. I got tears.
I love the Beyond. Yeah. Oh man, the Beyond is awesome. I had a great shirt back when I was like fat, when I was 300 pounds or whatever. I had a great shirt and I had to get rid of it because I was so upset when I lost that shirt because it was like a limited edition shirt, but I love the Beyond. There's like a spider in every scene.
Dude, you shouldn't have given up that shirt. You should have just put it in hot water and shrank it.
Oh my god. Okay, so officially Conquest has moved on in the tournament.
Yay!
Woo! Do we have any I don't know.
I love to lose.
Yeah,
So it's
Conquest
either-
wins. Woo!
So it's either fighting
Oh, so let's
Warrior and the Sorceress
gonna fight
or Sword
the Sword and the Sorcerer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
that's
So
all.
actually we have to decide. So okay, next week is Good Friday, right? So
Yeah.
let's do the week after.
Nice.
So that's the 14th. Let me see what I've got going on the 14th. Let me see if that's a doable time. Hold on. And then we have to decide what movie. I can't. No, the 14th. I can't do the 14th because. Maybe we'll change it to Wednesday.
Okay.
I will reschedule. I might because Bill wanted to come on and do the 90s thing with us.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see if he can maybe do that on a different day. But you know what? I don't know if he can. So let's do the 21st then. You want to do the 21st?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay for the Friday the 21st?
Sure.
April 21, Friday. What movie are we gonna do?
Go back.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, let me go back. So I have my calendar open here. So okay. So Hungry, you definitely want to be there for Hawk and Ator. That's like one of your favorites, right? So are you okay for the 21st then?
I should be.
Okay. So same time as today, just on the 21st.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Hawk the Slayer and Ator. That gives us like 3 weeks to watch them. So I'm sure we can. We're good for all of that.
Yeah.
Conquest has conquered. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't check the polls.
Oh.
I'll try to resist watching the MST3K Ator and watch the real Ator.
Who let the shine out?
So there was a whopping 5 votes, which is crazy because we had a lot more people watching than there are votes. People were just like, I'm not even going to bother voting for this trash.
I didn't see the movies, dude.
Okay, they didn't see the movie. Yeah. Sean is the Deathstalker killer.
I killed your too, so
you killed your
in the last tournament, yeah.
Yes. So okay, so we had 5 votes. One person voted for Conquest and 4 voted for Deathstalker. I think Deathstalker, because you can, I hate to say because you can see it clearer. Yeah. I think the look of Conquest turns off almost anyone who's not like hardcore. Like I like cheese movies and I like these kind of genre flicks and these like these bad sorcery. Anyone's just like, oh, I can't even watch this. It's like this just looks awful. Like what happened? Steve, what do you think? You hadn't seen these before. Now hold on. I did prep you. Yeah. I prepped you, right? I said Conquest is gonna look bad. Now I don't know because I loaned Steve my copy of it, not my Blu-ray, because I had to watch. I watched my Blu-ray, so Steve watched like the regular DVD or whatever. It may have been like they did remaster that DVD, I think. So you may have watched like a somewhat decent copy. So how bad was it? Did you watch on your big TV or on your
watch on my big TV? Now the thing is that J-Man did prep me. The thing is that prepping me for how movies look. There's a movie I'm going to mention that J-Man and Sean knows, and no one else on this stream will ever have heard of, probably, called Yilin, which to me was the most awful looking movie ever.
Right.
And that is something, and it's awful in almost every way.
What was the title? I didn't catch it.
Yilin.
It's like why
an African movie.
Yeah.
It is awful, Hungry. Like I'm doing a PSA by telling you to avoid it if you just stumble across it. I can say though that like I have gotten used to the look of movies. The big thing for me was actually Suspiria, which was a weird movie for me. And I've come to appreciate it now. When I first saw it, I'm like, what the piss is going on in this movie? But I got used to it. And, you know, it's to a point where J-Man showed me Terrifier and Terrifier 2, and he sort of prepped me again saying, Terrifier is going to look cheap and all that. Terrifier 2 looks a lot better. I actually like Terrifier a bit more because I think it works for what they're trying to do.
Well, Terrifier is still awesome. I was just trying to be like, okay,
you know, but like,
it's clearly just those guys filming in that garage or whatever.
Right?
Like,
thing has
turned out more than Suspiria 77?
77, yeah.
No, he doesn't like Terrifier more than Suspiria. He's saying Terrifier 1 more than Terrifier 2.
Oh, okay.
A little bit more. Yeah, no. I love Suspiria. I'm a convert. I freaking think Suspiria is awesome.
Yeah.
But I've now, because movies look so glossy in that now, I actually appreciate someone who gives me something that looks a little bit different.
Yes, I hate glossy. I want grit.
Yeah.
That was my problem with the Texas remake. It looked like it's like they were trying to make it look cool. And it did look cool, but now it doesn't look scary. Because it looks cool. You're like, wow, that looks really cool.
I agree.
Like, why am I saying this looks cool? Like, it should not look right. Like
the original Texas had the perfect look.
Yeah, it looks like shit. It's like some guy's house or something.
Really, it was shot like a documentary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, which was supposed to add to the terror, right?
I got this on Blu-ray.
It's just. I appreciate if a movie looks better than it should, and I've said that before.
But you know, at the same time, Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead, would not look. For me, it would not be so dear to my heart if it wasn't filmed in exactly the way it was filmed.
Very grainy.
Done it in a very, very small millimeter and then blown up for showing in the theaters, and the first VHS I ever saw in 1982.
Yeah,
so
I have that VHS.
I like the grainy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm agreeing with you that sometimes, you know, sometimes gloss will get in the way of the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that movie Pie. You ever see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you are psychic. I just downloaded that to rewatch it again today.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Oh,
I put the
cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
That is crazy. That's such a random movie, and I own that too. That's just a random movie to bring up. In the private chat, Hungry, I put the title of that movie that Steve was talking about, Yilin.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, if you want to check it out. But I mean, I should rewatch it. Last time I saw it, we just honked it. We were just like laughing at it because it was just like so brutal. But I need to rewatch it. Maybe I can appreciate it more now.
I liked it, but I guess I like those kinds of movies. I don't know.
It was just. We have a mutual friend who always brings that up whenever you
yes
a bad movie. He'll say, "Well, is it as bad as You In?" I'm like, "Well, I saw You In once, and I've never seen it again." You know, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
This is true. I rebought Predator.
It looks grainy.
So we did a Predator ranking stream when Prey had come out, and I rewatched Predator, and I just bought, like, it was like I got 2, 3, 4, no, 1, 2, 3 on Blu-ray that I never had them on Blu-ray before, and I was so pumped. It's like, Predator, man, here we go. I'm like, why does this look like crap? It's like, I don't know. I still don't know. And I was a bit shocked. I actually went to Blu-ray.com to look it up to say, like, wait, what's going on with this movie? Why does this look so trash?
Well,
I have no idea.
I saw Predator in the theater, and even then, it looked slightly gritty. Like, it looked a little bit like someone, like McTiernan shot it on a camcorder. I was like, but it works that way. Like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Documentary style works perfectly for what you're doing in the movie.
And also, when you're in a theater, if you are sitting halfway in the rows in the middle, that grain blends out, and sometimes that is anticipated by the people who are shooting the film.
Yeah,
and that's important. And for me, we are losing grain and losing the, shall we say, the thumbprint or the fingerprint of the director and the team on movies every day. We're losing things to glossing shit up.
Yeah.
with the current cybernetic digital way of making movies and red cameras, and people are now doing films with red cameras and trying to use filters and trying to use various technological means to make it look grainy. And so I really love the grain effect. And so as much as I don't like elements of Texas Chainsaw, I do really like the look of it, the physical look of it. And it's just like another film that I'm sure J-Man has seen that everyone else thinks is a trash film and everyone else thinks is an exploitation film. But I love the movie Squirm.
I do like Squirm. I have Squirm, yeah.
And, you know, it's slightly grainy, but it's
the poster's
just
cool.
grainy enough.
I checked this out while I was searching around for some posters. Look at someone stole my idea. Look, they did. Look, they put Mace fighting Krull.
Yeah,
Krull versus Conquest.
That was great. Oh, dude. And how many people on Twitter have been saying, they copy each other so much on Twitter. It drives me bug fuck crazy. When they're like, I think I might look at Krull. Should I watch Krull? And there's like 10 people on Twitter right now going, should I watch Krull? The answer is always yes. You should always watch Krull.
Yeah.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. I just watched.
I don't know why they asked that, other than just to post something.
Yeah.
Right, that's
like
rubbish.
if you think about it, just do it. What the hell's wrong with you?
I agree.
You look at one still from Krull with the spider mother. Okay, the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clip that. Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Yes, yeah. It's Ricardo Montalban from
Escape.
Apes 4, yeah.
No, Apes.
It's
Apes.
No, it's 3.
It's Apes
because
3.
They ask him to take the baby.
Yeah, so I was gonna watch Mandalorian season 3, and then I'd watch Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
so it's just like, I can't. I'll get to it.
Your television chooses what it wants to see, man.
It does. I love Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
This brings up something important with this volume bullshit that is now in Hollywood production. I would rather watch the worst 1973 horror film than something shot with volume as a background instead of a CGI background or a creative background. And that's something I really liked about Deathstalker, where there's a contradiction because we have this little miniature of these giant towers of the castle, right, for the villain, and it doesn't correspond to anything we see in daylight with the arena fights. It's like the arena fights, it's all built from styrofoam and using Ren Fair people. All right, and I like that a lot more than this volume garbage. Because there's an honesty and a heart to it. And now, J-Man, I know, is a writer. Steven, I know, is a writer. Sean probably is a writer.
He is a writer.
Okay, thank you. As writers, and I'm not gonna dox myself, but I wrote a mini series for a comic book story too, as well as being an illustrator. Heart matters, and sometimes heart matters more than glossiness.
Big time.
It does. And I mean, end of the day, like a lot of these things, it's like you're just looking for some kind of fun, neat thing that you haven't seen before. This is like, I don't hate any of these movies. Like, look, we picked this. We have to be. We'll wrap this up in a minute. We have to. For the tournament, we have to really get down to nitty gritty. Like, I don't want people to think like, oh, Deathstalker's like, dude, I was like the Deathstalker guy from day one. I had all 4 on VHS. Sean, you came over, I did a whole Deathstalker display, and I was like, okay, we're going to watch Deathstalker 4. It's going to be awesome. It's Boris. I've gotten every Boris calendar since 1991 or something. I missed like, there's 4 years or 5 years where I lived with my mom at the new house where I didn't get them. And I'm trying to find those again. But ever like, up to whatever year, and then from that year on, every year I get the Boris calendar. I love Frazetta. I got Frazetta books. I didn't get the Frazetta calendar because I was exposed. Like Boris was it seemed like they used Boris for movie covers, and Frazetta was more like the Conan covers and like the fantasy novels, right?
And record albums.
Record albums. Oh, I do have Molly Hatchet right here. It's like literally behind the Conan one, where it's like right behind.
Also, Frazetta was very much the poster guy, and so was Boris. But if you were into Famous Monsters, the magazine.
Oh yes.
You would have Frazetta stuff being sold as posters.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's
as
awesome.
an artist, I'm torn because, I mean, Boris had the gloss, and Frazetta had the color sense and the mood. Right. So they were both working different sides of the street, and it's wrong for people to say that Boris was just ripping off Frazetta. Yes, in the first 2 years of his career, Boris was ripping off Frazetta, but from then on, Boris had a 40-year career, and he was just doing himself with his own style.
Yeah, his wife too, Julie or whatever. Is it his wife?
Julie Bell.
Yeah, so she does half the calendar. So now it's like half of it's Julie, half it's Boris. That's been going on for a while.
And they're getting old now. So it's just like John Byrne. We'll go into this on a comic book stream, but I want to talk to you at some point about John Byrne X-Men Elsewhen.
I mean, I like John Byrne. So I don't know. Clobby is like has a love-hate with him, so we don't get into it.
But, what I'm saying is that age constricts what we can do once we get past 55.
Right.
It starts really affecting our hands, and it starts really affecting our eyes, and it starts really affecting the way we pencil and ink. And that is also true for filmmakers. And so I was taking that just to bring it back to what we were talking about today, that, Fulci was much older as a director for Conquest than the director of Deathstalker. And so we have to pay some respect to Fulci for being an old man and in bad health when he was making this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and he did. It was just crazy to know that he had done this movie. It's just weird. I know. Yeah. He put a lot of his own thing in it, and I mean, I'm okay with that. It is what it is. We don't hate any of these movies. We love them both. So yeah, just to end off, Sean and I. So there's not going to be the next stream is going to be Tuesday with Steve and I talking about WrestleMania. So that's this weekend. We already gave our predictions and all, so we won't go into that here. But Sean and I are going to do. I just set this up, so we're definitely going to do a Secret of the Sword stream. And people have been people got pumped up for the Transformers one we did, and they're like, well, now we got to do GI. We did GI Joe. Now we got to do He-Man. So Sean and I are going to do the Secret of the Sword. That's going to be crazy. So I literally started watching just the opening song, and I already got like excited. I was getting like goosebumps. I was like, okay, I got to relax. I'm like, I got to have to watch this. Like,
well, the song is very nostalgic. That melody
Big
is
time.
so like it's very whimsical and
it's awesome. So we're gonna do that sometime. I will schedule that and let everybody know. So yeah, Hungry Boy, you're good for Hawk the Slayer versus Ator, the Fighting Eagle.
It's not going to be a big secret over what I vote.
Yeah, I gathered that from your tweets. So, but Steve's going to be the control again. He's going to bring us down to reality. It's like to get us out of our nostalgia-filled heads and bring us back down. It's like, was it really that good? I also love Hawk the Slayer. My name was Jay. My name was Jay the Slayer. There's a movie store that it was called. What was it called? Starstruck Entertainment.
Oh yeah.
And Starstruck Entertainment. You just had a name that was like for your movies. I'd be like, okay, I need this, and they put your name down. So I was such a frequenter of that shop that they're like, well, we need a name for you. So I was Jason the Slayer. Because I bought Hawk the Slayer. That was like the first thing I got from there. I still have that's the copy I still have. And he's like, "You're Jason the Slayer." I'm like, "Nice." I'm like, "Oh, put me down for that." And I got Rock and Roll Nightmare from there, and I got like Rock and Roll Nightmare. We've met the guys. We met Thor and all that. And I got the soundtrack to that, and Thor signed the soundtrack, which is
90% of the films we love, we can never share with Raquel. Ever.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was gonna like, is there anyone that we can't throw any of these to her? Like, Not even a bit. She wouldn't even. There's a whole. I don't want to talk about someone when they're not here, but there's a whole thing with her, which is hilarious. Which I was just laughing my ass off.
Respect to her because she's very erudite and she's almost ethereal until she gets pissed off and the red hair thing comes out. Right?
Yeah, it's just great. Like I like watching the because they did the last night's thing where she like watching these old things and getting all like pumped up for them. And then sometimes she doesn't get pumped up though. She's like, "This was not very good." And I'm thinking, "What? This movie's great. What are you talking about?"
The movies we talked about tonight.
Oh no way!
Can never think.
No, I think she would. I think she would check out in 5 minutes. As soon as that girl got wishbone in the beginning,
yeah.
It's like, okay, that's it. I think that's it for Raquel. I literally thought that too. I was like, yeah, I think Raquel would be checking out at this point here.
Oh, dude, the wishbone was so horrible. But you know what? But to match the wishbone, we have to add, just to show respect to both of these movies, at the end of Deathstalker, something you almost never see in any horror movie, drawn and quartered by horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was very rare. The only time I've ever actually seen that is in a very rare Christopher Lee horror film. And I'm not even going to mention it because the title is problematic. We'll talk about it privately. But it's a good horror film, but man, it's like, certain things you don't share with certain friends.
Right. Well, there you go. That's a good one. That's a good place to end up. All right, guys. So the links to Stephen and Sean's websites and channels are in the description. Hungry Boy, you don't do any YouTube stuff, right?
No, I do YouTube stuff, but I almost never put anything up. So I ask people not to bother putting the link in because it's a waste of time. I like supporting other people's streams and other people's channels. That's what I like.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. We're definitely going to have you back on, and you can come on for the other one as well. But definitely for Hawk.
Do I have the freedom to make some suggestions to you privately in Tweety for stuff to talk about?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, just tweet. Yeah, and Sean's on Twitter too, so I'm not sure if you're following Sean.
Just in the private chat, can I get the link and I'll follow him?
Yeah, Sean, put your thing in the private chat.
Yeah, I'll try and find it.
Or I can find it too.
You expect Tweety as much as
man.
We were talking about posters so often. I just realized that I don't own any Conquest posters, so now I'm on eBay frantically trying to find like a Conquest poster just to like.
It was a good poster, and
there's so many different ones.
To be honest, the poster that shows up the most is actually thematically, not in terms of plot, thematically accurate, which as an artist I appreciate, because the main thing is going to be Mace against Okra, and that's my name for her. And so it's basically
Okron. I'm changing my name to Okron.
Okron.
It sounds like a Transformer.
It does.
Okron, you have failed me.
I as long as it's not a Michael Bay Transformer.
Oh gosh, no. Michael Bay is a bad word around here.
Okay.
All right,
I got the link in for the Sean.
Got it? Oh, cool.
Oh yes, I'm going to Sean's Tweety. Keep going. I'll shut up.
Soundtracks here. Okay, so that's it, guys. All right, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday for the WrestleMania stuff. If not, we will be back with another Versus. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, take care. Until next time.
Hey friends, you've just been listening to J-Man, and he is the smartest person who ever lived. So make sure you like and subscribe.